Hi, my name is Andrew Norman. Welcome to my introduction of Android malware video. In this video, I'll be going over the history of smartphone malware, the history of Android malware, and then some notable examples of Android malware that popped up over the years. What exactly do I mean by Android malware? That's only something you have to worry about on your own computer, right? Not on your cell phone. As I'm sure you all know, phones are technically computers, they have an operating system, and they're getting more and more popular as time goes on. Why wouldn't a hacker want to exploit something like that when it has a bunch of personal data on it that they can extract for personal gain? As of January of this year, phones have grown to 55% of the market share versus computers. With phones controlling the majority of the market share now, hackers have found them to be a very valuable target for getting the information and resources they need. They can extract your banking information, your passwords, your emails, your messages, your contact info. A lot of people's daily life is managed on their phones now. There's quite a number of people as well that only have phones and don't even use a computer anymore. The first piece of malware to be discovered on a smartphone is called Cabir. Cabir was specifically designed to send to antivirus makers to show the potential of malware on smartphones. Cabir targeted an early pioneer of smartphone operating systems called Symbian. Nokia was one of the main smartphone companies that used this operating system on their phones, and this is what Cabir was developed for, was their phones in particular. This worm was spread through using Bluetooth. What it would do is, if it was on a phone, it would be scanning constantly for available Bluetooth devices that are near it, and then it would send them a file request. And if the person that got the file request accepted it and downloaded the file, then that phone would send out file requests to other Bluetooth people. So it wasn't too hard to, it wasn't very easy to spread, but at the same time, it was an early pioneer of malware just to see what it could do at the time. Even though Cabir was mostly harmless, people with more malicious intent ended up looking at the code and then modifying it until eventually Cabir spawned a family of very malicious malware that spread throughout the Symbian OS. Cabir opened the floodgates, and that eventually led us down to the path of the malware that we have today on cell phones. Eugene Kaspersky, founder and CEO of Kaspersky Labs, wrote a blog post in 2014, 10 years after their company discovered the Cabir worm. That blog will be linked in the description of this video. In this post, he goes on to say how malware wasn't taken very seriously back then on cell phones. It's not even really being taken seriously a decade later in 2014, and from personal experience in 2022, it's not being taken very seriously now either. One of the virus analysts at Kaspersky got a file sent to them by an unknown author in June of 2004. After a few hours of testing and analyzing to see what this program even was, they soon discovered that it was a virus meant for the Symbian OS on an ARM processor. The only thing that had this combination at the time were Nokia phones. After some more testing on an actual Nokia phone, they figured out what the virus actually did and how it spread through Bluetooth. As Cabir's family of malware continued to grow, Kaspersky quickly realized they needed a specific department for mobile malware, because malware on mobile works kind of different than how it does on desktops, so having it all in the same department didn't make much sense. Eugene Kaspersky himself headed this department, and they went on to collect pretty much every mobile phone that was available at the time so they could quickly test mobile malware for different devices and release defense against it more quickly than their competitors. Symbian is now a dead operating system. The rise of Apple and Android made it go on a steep decline, and it died off completely in the early 2010s. Now that I've talked about the first smartphone malware in general, it's time to move on to the first Android malware. Android was released in 2008 by Google. By the time 2010 rolled around, Android was getting popular enough that it caught the eye of hackers looking to see if they could exploit something from it. Although there were a few pieces of malware that were released around the same time, FakePlayer is a very notable one and could be considered one of the first pieces of malware on Android. FakePlayer was a Trojan that sent premium SMS messages without the target realizing that the messages were being sent. These messages cost around $5 per message, and because it was being done discreetly, the target may not have even realized they were being attacked until they saw their inflated bill in the mail and weren't even able to deal with it because it was too late. How FakePlayer got onto people's phones is going to be a recurring theme on how Android malware works. It disguised itself as an app called Media Player, which had like a cheap knockoff version of the Windows Media Player logo as it, and after you downloaded it, it would even tell you that it's allowed to send premium SMS messages, but people clicked accept on it anyway, and it got to work. Overall, FakePlayer's code was pretty simple compared to other malware that came later down in Android's lifespan. FakePlayer is also very similar to Cabir in that it opened the floodgates for malware development on Android as hackers wanted to see more and more what they could do on Android to get people's resources and information. Premium SMS isn't really a thing anymore. As texting got more popular and the internet got cheaper and more strong, things like iMessage, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, stuff like that popped up, and premium SMS services no longer became relevant. Because of this, FakePlayer isn't relevant anymore either. Next, I'll be talking about some notable malware that popped up on Android over the years. Google is always trying to catch up to developers trying to exploit their operating system. Like most fields of tech security, hackers are usually one step ahead while the other side tries to play catch up and catch as many of their malicious programs as possible to detect and delete. They'll remove batches of malicious apps from their Play Store, but it has to be caught first and detected before they're even able to delete that stuff, so the early adopters of these apps usually get affected without anybody knowing what's going on. The first notable piece of malware I want to talk about that was developed for Android is Joker malware. Joker was first discovered in 2017. Unlike most malware available on Android, it was a Trojan that was hiding as a useful app to get on people's systems. Once it is downloaded and the user accepts all the permissions that the app wants to request, the Joker malware hidden inside of it gets to work. What it does once it's installed on the phone is that it goes through all of your messages, your contacts, and all that stuff, makes a copy of it, and sends it to the app writer's database or server of some sort. It includes stuff like one-time passwords, all your contacts' address information. It stores all this stuff, and they could use it later for fraud, any kind of banking information, signing you up for stuff, signing you up for premium services, anything that could potentially ruin your credit and gain them some money. This is a dangerous Trojan that's still being maintained and developed to this day. It usually shows up in batches of apps that eventually get detected and deleted, and this game of cat and mouse has been going on since 2017. One of the more recent ones that got caught in December of 2021 is called Color Message. This app disguised itself as some kind of fancy texting app, and was downloaded over 500,000 times. That's just one single app compared to probably the hundreds that ended up getting caught and deleted before this. And I'm sure there's still some out on the Play Store now that has the Joker malware hidden inside of it. Next, I want to talk about a more recent piece of malware that scares me a lot more than the Joker malware does. This one's called Octo malware. Octo malware spawns from a family of malware derived from Exobot that has been around since 2016. Octo malware has branched off significantly from Exobot, and it can be considered its own family at this point. Octo malware was discovered in January of 2022, so it is still a very new piece of malware that is on the market now. It focuses on obtaining the target's online banking information, and it does this by eventually getting control of your device and accessing it remotely. How is it even able to do this? Well, it does it in two stages. The first thing it does is access Android's media projection application to stream your device to the hacker's system. The hacker then captures absolutely everything you do on the phone. It sends screenshots back at 1 frame per second and is able to gather information such as your messages, your passwords, even your swipe gestures, your contacts, your banking information. Absolutely everything that you do on your phone is captured by the hacker and sent back to them. Once the hacker gets all the info they need, they then move on to the next stage. The next stage is gaining access to Android's accessibility service, and then they are able to start controlling your phone remotely. While it's controlling the phone, it puts a black overlay over the screen so it looks like the screen is turned off and it gets to work. Since it already knows all of your info, it's able to get into your banking information, your bank accounts, take all the money, do anything like that, upload any kind of contact information, use your passwords, go into your browsers, all of that stuff. And it's able to just do anything it wants on your phone, like it's using it like you're using your own phone, but they have control of it. They're able to do the gestures, they're able to power it on and off, they're able to tap on things, they're able to zoom in, swipe, all that stuff. They have complete control over your phone, and you can't see anything because it looks like your phone is turned off. And because all of this is technically being done on your own phone, they're able to get into your bank account and all that stuff without anything putting up a fight like they usually do. There'll be no suspicious activity detected. There'll be no login IPs from some country with a lot of hackers that usually show up. It'll just be you logging into your own device into the eyes of the company that's providing the service, so you won't even be tipped off that something's even happening. As you can see, Octo is extremely dangerous, and it's only the beginning, as this is a fairly new branch of malware that's available on Android. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? Hopefully the security companies are able to keep up and keep it under control. This is part 1 of a 2-part series. In my next part, I'll go over device protection, infection removal if you have something on there already, and what's already being done by Google and other security companies to protect the users from malware. Thank you for listening, and see you guys next time.